Good morning, students. Today we are going to start with another literary term of our syllabus entitled comedy. Generally speaking, comedy refers to any literary work, but especially a play which is less serious and less exalted than tragedy. Means comedy, in general speaking, it is a sort of drama which is not as much serious, not as much exalted as tragedy is. It usually has a happy ending. The end of this drama is not serious one, not sad one. It is happy ending. It deals with the ways of the world. It has been pointed out that it does not often come to grips with profound moral issues. It is also found in comedy that such serious topics based on morals, they are not in their comedies. To the Greeks, comedy meant drama full of beautiful lyrics with songs, broad verbal humor, bordering obscenity. Whereas Greeks were concerned, to the Greeks, comedy was a sort of drama which was full of songs, full of lyrics. Verbal humor was there, and obscenity was found in that verbal humor. Its primary concern is to amuse the audience or the readers. The basic aim, basic purpose of comedy is to make the audience, to make the readers laugh. It should be pointed out here that the comic form also occurs in narrative poetry and prose fiction. This type of form, comic form, can also be found in narrative poetry as well as in prose fiction. Now we come to the types of comedy. There are basically four types of comedy in English literature. Number one, classical comedy. Number two, romantic comedy. Number three, satiric comedy. Number four, comedy of manners. Rather, there are five types, and number fifth is farce. Let us discuss the very first type of comedy, classical comedy. Classical comedy is that form of comedy which employs classical rules like balance, proportion, unity, and restraint. Means, in classical comedy, the basic rules of classics, they are strictly followed, such as balance, such as proportion, unity, and restraint. Dramatists like Ben Jonson and the Restoration dramatists made an attempt to follow classical rules. Two examples are given, that of Ben Jonson and especially the dramatist of Restoration era. They followed the classic rules while composing comedy. They also followed the dictum as explained by Sidney that comedy served to show the common error of life in the most ridiculous and scornful sort that may be, so as it is impossible in any other beholder can be content to be such a one. Whereas the authors of classical comedy are concerned, they also followed the dictum, and it is explained by Sidney that comedy served to show. The purpose of comedy was to show the common errors of life. The way, in the most ridiculous and scornful sort, in a most scornful, in the most ridiculous manner, so as it is impossible that any beholder can be content to be such a one. Just in order to look at the vices of the life of the society, they are highlighted in classical comedy. Now we come to the second type of comedy. It is known as romantic comedy. Romantic comedy represents love affair, but this love affair faces all types of difficulties and finally ends in a happy married life. Whereas romantic comedies are concerned, the basic theme of romantic comedy is love. It is all about love affairs. Throughout the drama, there are number of problems, number of difficulties faced by the characters, but in the end, there is happy marriage of the characters. It was developed by Elizabethan dramatists. The proper development of romantic comedy, it took place in Elizabethan period on the model of prose romances written during the period, followed by the model of prose romances of that era, of that time. Realism and fantasy are woven together in an artistic manner in a romantic comedy. These two aspects, realism and fantasy, they are also blended with the comedy in a very artistic manner, whereas romantic comedy is concerned. Shakespeare's comedies are considered to be the finest examples of romantic comedies. Some of his important comedies include The Windsor, As You Like It, The Merchant of Venice, Twelfth Night, Much Ado About Nothing, and A Midsummer's Night's Dream. His comedies are conceived in an imaginative setting. They have hardly any trace of a world full of troubles and tribulations. They have a colorful world of their own. The settings of his comedies are Arden, Illyria, Thebes, Ephesus, and Venice. Many characters in his comedies go about making love, feasting, dancing, and singing. Women characters play a very dominating role in Shakespearean comedies. In fact, the heroine is more dominant and superior to the hero. The main characteristic feature of Shakespearean romantic comedy, that heroine is dominating heroes in the play. As in As You Like It and Twelfth Night, examples are given. Love is the major theme of Shakespearean comedy. The atmosphere is full of mirth and laughter. It is also true that sometimes the story becomes quite serious. There are some of the incidents, there are some of the points during the progress of the drama that the action becomes quite serious. The lovers have to suffer because the course of true love never did run smooth. At certain points, the lovers have faced different type of difficulties, different type of problems, as the path of love, it is never smooth. However, the ending of the comedy, it is happy one. In comedies like The Merchant of Venice and Much Ado About Nothing, the borderline between comedy and tragedy is very thin. Whereas these two examples are concerned, it can be considered that there was a blend of comedy as well as that of tragedy. The plot in Shakespearean comedy is subordinate to character. The story may be very interesting, but characters are the fountainhead of pleasure. Whereas the plot is concerned, it depends upon the character. It is subordinate to the character. And the story, the plot may be interesting, but whereas laughter is concerned, whereas pleasure is concerned, it is created by the characters. For example, Rosalind and Celia are more interesting than the story of As You Like It. Portia and her speech of mercy is more attractive than the situation presented in The Merchant of Venice. Another important feature of Shakespeare's comedies is a happy blend of fact and fiction, observation and imagination, realism and fantasy. Music and songs are an essential feature of romantic comedy. There is the court music of Duke Orsino, The Food of Love, the traditional music of the clown, popular songs like those of Sir Toby and Sir Andrew in Twelfth Night, of Amines in As You Like It, of Balthasar in Much Ado About Nothing. A very impressive feature of his comedies is humor. His humor is genial one. It does not lash or hurt. In his book, The Mind and Art of Shakespeare, Dowden points out the genial laughter of Shakespeare at human absurdity is free from even the amiable criticism, which gives to the humor of Jane Austen a certain piquant flavor. It is like the play of summer lightning, which hurts no living creature but surprises, illuminates, and charms. That's all about the two types of comedies. Number one, we discussed classical comedy, and number two, romantic comedy. Rest of the types we shall discuss in our next lecture. Thank you very much.